Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Tawheed Spiritual Unity of the Three Principles. Today we are discussing a really interesting topic. Why is it a painful feeling when we are disconnected from Allah, God, Divine Mind? And we are joined here by my co-host, Harry Drobitsky, and an amazing bunch of people. So welcome everyone. I just thought, want to mention a few things about what occurred to me about, today's topic. It's really interesting thing to kind of the way you put it, Harry, because you were the one who actually came up with this great topic. And for me, like the first thing that came up is that the moment I am not aligned with my true self or with truth, anything that is not permanent, anything that is finite, this is the moment where I feel, pain. This is where I'm disconnected from reality, and this is where I am in the dream state, caught up in the dream. And the role of the three principles understanding here is to kind of unveil the veil in our minds, to see things from a higher perspective, from another level of consciousness. And the more we that we see that our thinking has everything to do with our feeling of feeling disconnected from source, it's kind of become relevant to us that that what we are feeling disconnected from is only one thought away from us at any given moment. And the second thing that occurred to me is that the less I have about why I am feeling disconnected or why I am feeling this pain, the quicker I come back to that feeling of presence where I'm connected again. The less I'm lost in my thinking about that feeling that I'm, that is crippling me and it's just uncomfortable to be in, the more it is easier for me to come back to connection and come back home. So this is how, like, this is what occurred to me. And yeah, I would love to hear from you, Harry. What's your take on that?
Omar brings up, I'm going to say a few words, but Omar brings up a really important point. When you're with Allah or source or the three principles are all the same thing, and you're going through pain, it's totally different than when you're devoid of that, when you're cut off from that. One has hope and a light that you know where to go to in your pain, because we're mostly, last week we had a show 2 weeks ago on physical pain, which was very well received. And now we're talking more about emotional pain and what we're going through. But it's so much easier because one has hope and one has no hope. One is final. They both feel final, but with hope or connection to Allah or source or higher power or God or universal mind, all the same thing, it feels totally different. You kind of can rest with the frazzlement of emotional pain, where the other way, you're stuck in time. And when Sid talked about beyond time, space, and matter, he was talking about that the world is a spiritual reality, and what we're living here is an illusion. So yesterday, I just want to go, I had a really razzled me. I'm in the middle of nowhere and my clutch goes. And I have no idea what to do to solve this problem. And at the same time, my sister is having an operation for breast cancer, and a few other things are happening. I went through that experience, and a couple of things I observed. I phoned my brother-in-law, and he said, get it towed and take it to the nearest place. And that sort of happened. It was a long journey in that. And I was getting more, like I was calm, but I was getting frazzled with this situation. And yet the solution was not what I liked. But car arrived at a place, it looked kind of really messy, and they charged more money than they should have because they took a little advantage. And I came up, and then I took the bus home because they're working on the car, and I'm totally frazzled. But when I settled down today, I said, even though it's not the best solution, it's a fantastic solution. It worked out much better than it didn't work out. And the other part I had to deal with was my own I was just burnt right out. And so how did I deal with that? I just had to take a break. I just rested and waited. And then I started to get calls about the cancer and so on. With our understanding, with the understanding that everyone has here, what Miriam has, what Maja has, and what Sander has, and Joe, and you go through the pain. See, life is a contact sport, but it's an illusion. That's what I had to go through in my human condition. Yet with the understanding that it's a spiritual reality, I glided out of it. In the burnt out experience, there was like the eye of the hurricane, and I just settled into it. To be honest, when people phone me about my sister's breast cancer, I had so much more compassion for them. And today I turned on the TV and saw the Ukraine-Russian war. And I went, what are we, back in 1944? What is this? The world has actually gone back to the 1940s with Hitler and stuff like that. It's the same, it looks the same. It looks like Syria. It looks like but I had compassion for this experience. Before this type of hurt that I had, guess what? Miriam, I was just objective with it. I didn't feel it. And if you can't feel the suffering that our world, got to remember, we're connected to these people. You know, that's the beauty of what Omar and I are doing. Morocco and Canada are connected through us and what we're sharing and experiencing together. And if Omar is hurt and I don't feel that, something wrong with me, something wrong with the way I relate to life. And that's some of the things I hear in the three principles. You can get a bit cold and objective. It's just thought. But it's not just thought, it's reality. Yeah, an illusionary reality that I have created, but I'm feeling it. And so are they. And I can feel that in the Ukraine, those people are not going through a nice experience. They're going through a horrible experience, beyond blowing their mind. I'm in the middle of nowhere with my car, and that's how I felt. Of course, relative to what they're experiencing, it's such a small little thing. But together, we are all one. We need to have compassion. Our pain, as the Dalai Lama, it takes us into compassion. I don't like feeling vulnerable. but boy, is it good for me. Boy, does it take me into more who I am. Nothing I hate worse than phony Harry or cold Harry. I don't like that guy. I like compassionate Harry. I'm not that great at it, but I'm growing. And yesterday's experience, it doesn't always have to be a perfect solution. It just has to work out so that you can move on with your life. And that's what I came up with that experience. So there is no pain except in what we're personally experiencing. And yes, it affects us. And that's what the show we noticed, Omar, 2 weeks ago. The pain was definitely affecting people. Would you agree?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And one thing that I love what you shared, by the way, Harry, and something that I remember that about pain, it is really a reminder to wake us up to the fact that we are sidetracking to the world of illusions. We are going further away from who we truly are. So when I feel pain, and we do feel pain, like I still feel pain, it's either I see it that kind of wakes me up from my dream state to, oh my god, like I'm getting sidetracked again. I'll get sidetracked until I wake up to the fact that, you know, I've been, you know, slapping my face with my own hand and not seeing that I'm doing it to myself. And it is really interesting when we see it this way, because if I really don't take it personal, because what we do most of the time when we feel bad, we blame it on something else. It's easier this way, right? But when I see that, like, I'm feeling what I am feeling because of my experience in this moment, and it happened that a thought popped up in my mind, right? And I felt that thoughts, and so it's just an experience, a passing experience. And so instead of you know, grabbing into it and, you know, labeling it and putting a meaning to that experience, I could just, you know, like just let it go. It's really hard to let go of that when we feel what we feel.
It's not so easy to let go. Once you step into it, you cannot let it go very easily.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And this is our innocence. Like, this is where our innocence comes in, that we do get caught up, but it's okay to get caught up from time to time, because it doesn't mean anything about us. It doesn't mean that there is something fundamentally wrong about us. It's mean that we're having a human experience, and that's it. I mean, the feeling that we felt, like when we had a bad experience, is only temporary, and once that thought passes by, it's gone. But if I bring it with me, this is where I actually get hooked up and I suffer more than I should be.
And then it becomes trauma. Then it becomes trauma rather than letting go and forgetting about it.
Yeah. I mean, in the previous show, something interesting came up in the conversation. And I think I asked Hannah, because I saw it in one of her posts, about it's a different thing feeling pain, right? And it's a completely different thing making it worse than what it is. I mean, I'm experiencing pain, but I could make it worse with my thinking. Like, I could, you know, think of all what could happen if I stay this way, and try to imagine myself how I'm going to feel tomorrow or the next year, or how I'm going to be, like, if I would be able to travel or whatever. Or I could just, you know, have less thoughts on it.
Let me give you an example of what Omar is talking about. One of Sid Banks's closest friends was Brian Lurcher. You don't hear much about him, but they were very, very close. And Brian was an extremely handsome man, very egotistical about his looks. He couldn't walk by a mirror without admiring himself for 15 minutes, type of thing. It sounds funny, but it actually had a lot of validity to it. And then he got cancer, very, very serious cancer. And the whole side of his face, all the way down to here, was cut out inside. So he became a freak. And he was given 6 months to live. And he lived 7.5 years. And he was my best friend. And what I noted from him was two things. First, he understood very clearly that any stress with this cancer would kill him. He understood that. And he gave up all stress, including, he said, my wife doesn't love me, and I'm a lover of women, but I can't get into that or else I'm going to be devoured by the cancer, type of thing. And the other thing I noted was I would go visit him quite often to boost him. And he had a hot tub on a balcony overlooking 5 acres of forest in Salt Spring. So you can imagine it was quite beautiful. And we'd sit in the hot tub and his spirit was boosting my spirit. I was supposed to be boosting him in my mind, but his spirit, because of the way he was dealing with this freakish abnormality. And he touched more people at the end of his life than he did the whole rest of his life, because he took the noble route, the feeling he had. And Sid said to me, he says, I keep visiting Brian because every time I visit him, he gets such a boost. And Sid said, well, I don't know why he's getting a boost, but he just gets a boost. And so he kept, and that's the way I felt. The boost and the sharing. So just because you're going through what your definition of what we're calling, Omar, a painful or negative experience, one thing I am very clear about when I went through what I went through yesterday, it's a spiritual experience. It's spiritually designed. Don't forget that, people. Everything you're going through is spiritually designed to make you a better human being. The purpose, Miriam, of the 3 principles is not to understand the 3 principles. The purpose is to make you into a better human being. That's indigenous teaching, but it's Sid's teaching too. Live an ordinary life and acknowledge your own wisdom to guide you through this chaotic mess called change. And if you're not changing every minute of your life, then I don't know what you're doing. You're pretending you're not changing, but you are changing every minute, every second, and you're adjusting to that. That's why the 3 principles are there, to allow you to feel the path of truth and wisdom through positive feelings.
Yeah, I really resonate what you just shared, Harry, about that when we feel bad, it's a spiritual experience. And Rumi put it beautifully when he says that what hurts you blesses you.
Isn't that like fantastic? I love that.
It doesn't look this way when we are in it, right? But in hindsight, when you look back at a previous experience that you were like, oh my God, like this is the worst experience ever. Like in a year or two, it will be like, oh my God, that was meant to happen. Now, like you see it from a totally different angle, and you see that it wasn't that bad after all, because you just learned.
It takes your thought off it, Omar. Like if it's God's design, your free will is going with God. If it's your design, your free will is going with you.
Right.
Right now, at that point, you have no answers.
Mm.
So it's a lot easier going with God's will, that omni will, because that's takes us back inside.
Yeah, we are constantly being taken care of, actually. But you know, like as I mentioned, it's hard to see it when you are in it. But this is where faith come about. Like this is where having faith play a huge role. Like giving up trying to control everything and trying to fix, like wherever you want to fix in that moment where you feel horrible, and just be guided. Listen to that which has all the answer that we're looking for.
That's it. Maja has her hand up.
Maya.
Oh, excuse Maya.
Would you like to unmute yourself?
Hello.
Hi, I just muted you again, actually. Yeah.
Now
Thank you.
it's on?
Yeah, perfect.
Hi. Thank you for a nice discussion. It resonates with me, and I'd like to share something. I have a friend, my artist friend, that I posted a painting of her today. We had a discussion on the suffering and how to find that faith and find that the meaning of what's happening when we're having it rough. And the Bible has a very nice metaphor. It's like God is being the potter that makes the clay, that we being the clay, right? And he wants to shape us into being the perfect shape. And whatever he's doing to us, it's a blessing, like you said before. It may feel rough to be molded into like very harsh, right? But the result is what we don't know about, but he knows. And to receive it with the gratitude is
or at least with the peace of mind to
with the peace of mind.
flow with it, as it doesn't
this
make
is happening for a meaning, right? For a purpose. Like I experience a lot of tough things in my life, and it's not until afterwards that I see the meaning of it.
and the gifts that were given to you by going through that experience.
And I think the metaphor of the potter making pots out of us to serve his purpose, I think it's a good one, because I can feel the way it's molding. Sometimes it feels like that.
Well, right now with you growing so quickly, it's easy to see that actually that type of process. And isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
The faster you grow, then when the negative experiences, the pain comes, the emotional pain comes, it surprises us that it still impacts us, but it comes with rewards, big rewards. And that was what Sid went through. He would go through physical and different types of experiences, but he came out of it with more wisdom. He always modeled what happens to us. We come out of these experiences with more wisdom. And there's one thing with the Bible that I am not come from a Christian background, but one time I had a Christian girlfriend and she took me to church, and I sort of listened and read a little bit. And I said, seems to be the Bible is just saying two things. We are either going closer to God and this happens, or we're going away from God and this happens. And I says, is that all the book is about? Just those two topics? And it seems to be, and I would imagine the Quran is the same. When you get closer to God, closer to Allah, this happens. your heart opens up to the truth and to these spiritual feelings. And when you go away from Allah, your ego gets bigger, you know, or something of that nature. And then the pain comes when we go away, which is the topic. When you go away, don't bring Allah along. Your ego gets bigger, and you need a stick of dynamite up your bum to blow it up. And that's what God does. God's actually pretty good at that stick of dynamite. But he doesn't see it like he's hurting you. He's seeing like he's giving you a blessing. Because I don't want to go in the wrong way. If Miriam is hurting somebody innocently, wouldn't she like to know about it? Wouldn't you, Miriam? It's important that consciousness is there to guide us. It's the light. It shines. Mind is like the hand, and consciousness is the light. If you're not conscious that you're going away from God, isn't it good for consciousness to wake you up? It's divine. It's ethereal. It's spiritual. If I can go along with that, life is harmonious. And as I was mentioning to Joe and Omar, when I was in Mexico experiencing all this silence, I was amazed at the battle I had with Mr. Noisy up here. It seemed to be yapping a lot. And I'm going, I'm experiencing all deeper levels of silence, but this is still yapping away. And then I says, well, I don't want that. But then I went into a vegetable state, Omar. And in that vegetable state, in Mexico, when you're driving, guess what happens if you don't bring your little mind along? You get lost. And when you get lost, it gets frustrating and difficult because you don't know where you are. And I says, oh, you got to bring your little mind along too. I need it. I need it to guide myself through the street. Hello. Oh, I'm on a Zoom. We'll talk later. Yeah.
Okay, so this will be live on Facebook and YouTube, and I wouldn't even edit this.
Okay, yeah.
It's part of the human experience and the Zoom experience.
That's right. And even there, you know, that's perfect. That's perfect. And it would have been more perfect if I muted my phone, but it's perfect. So this harmony between who we are as a spiritual being, God's creation, and being the greatest gift that God created, man, and finding a harmony between God's creation and God's greatest creation, it turns out all man is a manifestation of being connected to everything, and it has a purpose. Our purpose is to correct stuff, or as we do a little more commonly from our ego, make a mess out of stuff. We have the power of creation. And God says, just follow omni-will. You have no problem. But we have other ideas. And as my level of consciousness drops, I find there's a purpose in it. Just like Omar, I found there was a purpose in my little mind yapping all the time. You know, it was irritating. Can you imagine that? I'm in paradise with a peaceful state of mind, and it's yapping. It's taking me back into my memory. And I go, I don't like that. But there came a point where they kind of got together. We have to get together with God. If we can't do that, we're going to suffer. Not needlessly, but because there's something we don't understand. I got more to say about that, but I think it's a good place for me to be a little quiet for a few seconds.
Something that I want to, touch upon here is, and to be with God, it's not something that we learn to do, but
That's
kind of unlearning what we learn throughout our life that is kind of coming between us and connected with God. And it's also relates, like I shared recently a video about, I've had the conversation with people who've been long enough in this understanding and they couldn't get or see something in it. And that was really surprising because some people just, came across this understanding and they're way ahead of the people who were meant to kind of, have a huge kind of aha moment. And this shows that it has nothing to do with time, but more of, I think it's because of, this is what came to mind. We get stuck in the intellectual understanding of what the three principle is. And to relate it to what we're talking about today is that we are stuck in the intellectual understanding of what God is. We can't really put God in an image. And our thinking is certainly not God. And so what could be in the way is what I think God is. And we do it in every religion, especially us, like me as a Muslim, I used to do that, right? I was talking to a lady this week and she certainly mentioned something of this sort. And so I think it's everywhere, in every religion. We could limit ourselves and not reap the benefits of what the religion is all about. And for me, all religions are pointing at the same source. You could hear truth in every religion. And for me, like I certainly respect everyone's religion. And yeah, because when I hear beyond, like if I come to someone like Jewish, like if I was to speak with you, Harry, like before, I would certainly have a lot of judgmental thinking about you, and that will prevent me to really connect deeply with you. I mean, I'll just have a conversation and pretend that I am kind of friendly, but no, you're Jewish, to do this. And have a lot of on my mind about what Jewish people are like. But they're human beings as well, right?
No kidding.
Yeah, I thought at the beginning they are angels.
I'm glad you got that.
It's certainly not about, it has nothing to do with someone's religion. Because everyone you speak with has a soul. We all came from the same from the same source, and we could all connect back to that same source that we are, that connect us all. And just to mention again your favorite quote, Harry, by Rumi, we are not a drop in the ocean, we are the entire ocean in a drop. Everything that looks separate, that looks as separate, or that seems like it's separating us, is in fact an illusion. It's not it's impermanent. What is permanent is our essence that goes beyond what I think about you and what you think about me. Goes beyond what kind of person you are, what kind of personality do you have, or it goes beyond your skin color or your religion or your background or your age. It just cannot be put into a form who we truly are. And that's what could connect us. That's what connects us back, not could. This is what connects us back to source.
And when you connect to source, you connect back to your youth, your unlimited potential, etc. So if Omar and I are playing tennis and I'm connecting to the oneness,
I'll beat you, Harry.
I was going to say he's not going to beat me. And the reason he's not going to beat me is because I'm better than he is. So sorry for the competitive tone I throw. But what Omar is talking about is actually we're going to enjoy playing together. And probably both of us are going to play better than we normally do because we like each other. The more you like energy, the more energy gives it back to you. That's the way it works. I was with a little girl. I was swimming in our local pool, and the little girl jumped in, and I said to her, the more you like the water, the more the water likes you. The water has a will as well. It gives back that feeling that you have. And when Omar was talking, the Rabbi Shoel Rosenblatt was on our show, on our first show, and he said one quote that has stuck with me forever. If there is racism between Omar and I, we have taken God out of the equation. There cannot be God and racism in the same thought. And that's all that happened with Omar and I. We trusted the positive feelings. The truth is, we have never really talked, not once, about the Muslim-Jewish conflict. It's not that we're not aware of it, but it doesn't fit into our feelings that we have for each other. And if I can't have the feeling that Omar's expressing, I can't see his growth. I can't feel his growth. I can tell you he is growing. The show has brought out a whole new feeling for him. And of course, he's been doing other things besides the show. But if you're prejudiced, or if you're caught up in your own illusion, you have to feel pain because you're not seeing the truth. And what it will happen is Omar and I will have conflict because I'm prejudiced. Well, I haven't got room for that type of thinking in my mind. I just can't buy into that. Omar is a feeling, sentient, feeling, wise human being with unlimited potential. Even what he was yesterday, he is more today. If I have a preconceived idea, I'm going to be prejudiced. And then I'm going to limit myself. Oh, geez, excuse me.
And so I would love to hear from you guys. Like, what did you hear in this discussion so far, if you have anything to share with us?
Joe, come
Where's
on.
Joe?
Joe, your big mouth like yours got to talk something.
You already put a concept on me, Harry.
It's lovingly said, Joe. You know that.
And lovingly received.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I started to see more and more like when my mood goes down, even like a week ago, at first I was putting stories onto it and seeing it as wrong and this shouldn't happen. But then when I accepted it or surrendered to it, it quickly just dropped away again. And I mean, the same with when my mind started getting busy, that I didn't have to fight it or change it or even make a story on it. I could just sit in it. And then when you do that, it just naturally goes back to the balance. But also what you're saying, I went on with a guy, he run a club on night off-roading and he was doing rescues. And so we didn't talk anything spiritual, I just chatted with him, drove through the forest and that, and had a great time, really enjoyed it. And I was just sharing with him, just sharing being with him, and he was sharing being with me. I just felt great after that. And it's just that, isn't it? It's just being with people really, with no preconceived ideas of them or me or anything. And it's just that, it's just sharing a feeling with someone, just that, sharing an experience. And when I do that, that's it. This doesn't matter what someone else is, what race they are, what I think of them or that. It's just that, just share and just be. And then to me, that's being with God, really. It's not some abstract thing. It's just that we all have that within us.
Yeah, that's beautifully said. Life brings us opportunities to share and for other people to share with us. And we need that. Period. We need both. We need to help and we need to be helped. I don't know why we have trouble with that concept, but that's all, you know. And they'll let us know when they need your help, not when we open our big mouths and try and preach to them. You know, they'll let us know. It's like parenting. You can try and talk about the 3 principles with the kids, or you can live it. And then whenever they're interested in it, they'll bring it up. But if you're bringing it up all the time, you're asking for trouble. You're not being yourself. You're more than a parrot, repeating the 3 principles in a way that make you feel good. The purpose is not to make you feel good. The purpose is to experience a beautiful feeling with other people and, of course, with yourself. A lot of people get caught up in the 3 principles that it's just, I feel good. Well, I got news for you. Sid always said, share the feeling. If you want to grow, he said, share the feeling. You don't own it, share it. And all of this stuff we're talking about today is about sharing feelings with yourself and with other people. That's what makes me feel good. I'm not impressed by helping people go from a low level of consciousness and for a moment having a nicer thing. I'm impressed with the fact that I'm even allowed to talk and share a feeling with people. And it's even more wonderful that it's happening. But I'm not creating it. Who's creating it is God. The God inside all of us.
Beautiful, Harry. I was watching a TEDx talk by Jacob Lieberman, and he said something that really hit me actually. And he says that the trees sway from an invisible force called the wind. But have you ever paused to see what's blowing the wind? That's even more invisible. And this is for me the infinite intelligence behind life. That's running the show, right? And it's taking care of me, and it's taking care of you as well, wherever you're at. And the only thing that could be in the way is us getting in the way of, like, for this to happen. Feeling pain is it's like the petrol light that goes off because of you need to put petrol in, and this just let me know that I might have just sidetracked a bit, but it's completely fine. I'm getting back to track. And without having anything on it, I'll be surely be back to track quicker and faster. And if I might have something on it, I'll suffer that for a little while until I wake up to the fact that I am doing it to myself, and that's why I'm feeling disconnected. But I will surely be back at any given moment.
When God decides.
When God decides.
And that's,
as you say, inshallah.
Yeah, like that. Absolutely, Omar. Miriam, is that her hand raised? I'm not sure.
No.
No? Oh, sorry.
Can I say something?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. I
Oh,
I
that's
don't
mine.
know if it fits. Maybe I would like to share the experience of my of me getting out from my pain experience. Like during the summer and before that, I was accumulating stress and pain in my joints and many places, and that was I think related to the job, as a nurse, and the way I got out of it was through this three principles experience. That was when I understood that I was feeling the pain because I was not being my true self, and the more I looked into that and really tried to come closer to just being, closer to the source actually, the more I realized that I was getting away from the source, and that was causing the experience of pain.
That's what Sid talked about.
Like
Exclusive.
really physical pain, and
Yeah.
it left me as soon as I got that sense of belonging, that I didn't have to do anything. I didn't have to work as hard to prove my worth, or to be worthy of love, or to be worthy of that connection with God. That it was really enough to just lie down on the floor and feel it. Yeah.
Pure truth.
So that's what I do every time I feel lost. I get back to that spot in the floor and reconnect.
Yeah.
Or dance. Yeah.
Are you saying that we all should go to the spot in the floor to feel connected, Maya?
Works
That
for
is
her.
that's my personal way of getting it. That is one way actually. There are more ways, but everyone should find their own way, I think. What's your favorite way, Omar?
I have
Where do
no
you
I have no no way to do that. Well, what are you talking about here is like getting yourself present in the moment. Is that what you mean?
No, she's talking about her true self.
Yeah.
That's what Sid.
No, I'm talking about getting a sense of my being.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, getting in a present moment.
That could also explain or describe it. Yes, and of course there are different levels of getting that and different ways for me also. It doesn't have to be just one way.
One thing we could say is if you access your true self, Maya, automatically you will heal whatever's on your mind at that moment.
It's like that.
It's
That's what I feel.
automatic. That's why Sid said you go beyond time, space, and matter, or before time, space, and matter, because as soon as you access the truth or your true self, no matter what's on your mind is healed. If it's like say a negative feeling. And that's why he talked about true self so much, and that's where he would start talking about and then move up. And then he would talk about it in exactly the way you described it. You're in a living example of what Sid was talking about on Salt Spring. You may not even be aware of that, but you are that because of what you just said. And that's exactly what he was talking about. And he said, when you access your true self, everything you see with different eyes. You live differently, and it changes you as a human being.
It has changed me a lot, really.
Yeah. Well, it's pure truth. You're living, you expressed as an example of as a fruit on the tree. You never met the man, yet you met the man. You met him at the level of your true self. Omar never met Sid, but he's met Sid Banks through his true self. I met the man and closed my eyes a long time about the true self, and then opened them again.
I found as well that often like the anxiety, depression or pain or even suffering has been my biggest teacher. And it's taught me that I've been stuck in a concept or a belief. And it isn't until I truly see that from my own realization that I do touch that I can't learn it from somebody else. It has to come from within me, and that I'll have to go through that experience until it does happen. And when I appreciate that and accept that and love that as well, that's when I see it.
That's another way of talking about the true self. Beautiful, Joe. That's absolutely, that's your truth you've seen. This wasn't make-believe, this is what you experienced and became another person. Like all of us have gone through a lot of pain and suffering, needlessly or illusionarily, or whatever way we want to describe it. And thankfully, either through some experience with Allah or God or universal mind, or through the teachings of the three principles, which are three tools of God emanating through us, we've come to the realization of something very, very important. We can feel good now. It's a nice feeling. I can feel good now. I have an interesting past. I have a lot of memories, and Sid explicitly talked that the big problem with humanity is memories. And living in the now, as you're talking about, Omar, excludes all of that and allows us to touch the love in our heart, the peace in our mind, and the joy of being a human being. Imagine, kind of fun. In fact, as we're starting to realize more and more, Omar, a lot of fun. So more fun, less pain is our message today.
Well, I would love to hear from anyone else who hasn't shared yet, who hadn't shared anything yet. So just before we end this beautiful conversation.
That would be a bad time to come in my opinion. So right at the end, maybe next time.
Yeah, you should only share when you feel like it, Sander. That's 100% dead on.
Absolutely. Mariam want to share something, I guess.
No, I just want to agree with Sander. I think Harry said a lot of things today, and I completely agree with him. I believe that for us human beings, it's difficult sometimes to just step out of the pain, because in that moment in a paradoxical way, is the only truth, is the closest thing at the truth that we have. So we identify with it at that point. However, when we mix it and we exactly that again identify with it, we just we get lost in it. But yeah, I believe that pain is a messenger, as already is been said, by Harry and Joe, I think. It's an alarm when we disconnect with our true self, and the gap increase until sometimes there is like a separation. So the immediate way of bringing in that attention is to pain. It can be physical. I think it's the extreme level when you just act numb and deaf to all other kind of painful experiences that you can live. At some point, the physical one is one that just locks you and force you to sit and understand that there is something that is not going the way it should. So I normally welcome pain as a way of re-guiding myself and reconnecting. Yeah, that's it.
Beautiful. Well, Omar, I think we're coming to a final conclusion by yourself, and hasta la vista, amigos, and move on from there.
Yeah, well, thank you, everyone, actually, for just sharing your insights and your thoughts around that. And thanks to my co-host Harry Durbitsky, for sharing your wisdom as always. It's been missed in the last show, and we are glad to have you back with us. I certainly am. And so I'll just end it by this beautiful quote by Rumi, that what hurts you blesses you, indeed.
It turns out that's the truth. Once again, Rumi is dead on. Once again. I just love this guy. He says things differently than I've heard it before, but it's so simple and clear. Say it one more time, Omar. It's a beautiful way to end the show.
In English or in other language?
Yeah, in Arabic. Yeah, that would be beautiful.
In Arabic. What hurts you blesses you.
I understand Arabic now. Thank you, people. It's been great to share this topic with you, and the beautiful feelings. Remember, Xander and Miriam, if you say nothing and you're part of the energy, you're just as much a part of the energy as if you say something. I really believe that. It's one of the things that he gave a talk in a small room, apartment with just people who were really into him. And he said, oh, it's so nice to be allowed to go high. In other words, he was saying he could only go as high as we would let him go. And collectively, this has been a beautiful conversation for what we've shared together. Muchos gracias, amigos.
Thanks, everyone.